Hello again. We are back with our Impressionistic still life. Last segment we did the background color with the blues. Now we're going to move on to the vase itself, the green vase. So I've gone ahead and put some different colors in here because we're going to be using lots of colors. I think the colors should dance around this whole picture. So we're going to be using colors other than what we would typically put in here. And if you think back to when we did our oil pastel at the beginning of the year, I wanted you to think about that then too. So we're going to do that even more now. So I'm going to take my greens and I'm just going to start layering these greens on. If you want, you can go ahead and mix up several different greens so that you can work with them all at the same time. And I'm going to mix up several different greens and really make this pop. Now remember, we are painting over top of the complementary color, so these colors won't pop as much as they would if we were on white, but we are going to end up making them pop really nicely. You can always add a little bit of white, and if you add just a little bit of white, the coverage will be better because that little bit of white will help cover the dark red. The red is pretty hard to cover, so you add just a little touch of white. You can do that. We're going to be trying to get our highlights in here and seeing how that color really dances around in there. And it's okay to get blue greens in here. Like I said, we want to be able to show that these colors are dancing around the picture. So I've got a blue green up here in my sky, and it's nice to replicate some of those colors throughout your painting so that your eye just sort of dances around. Because when you have those same colors used in different spots, it helps to unify your painting. So I'm just going to continue layering this on. You want to make sure that you're looking at your still life picture that I posted while you're doing this so that you can remember what you're doing. And this is glass, so we want to make this look like it is got lots of shiny values in there. And you know what's going to make this look really cool is if I put little bits of red in here. So I've got red in my underpainting, but if I put reds on top of my green in different places, since it's a complementary color, it's going to work well with this. So I'm adding some reds in here also. And do you know what happens when you add red and green together? Red and green are complements, remember. So do you know what happens when you add two complementary colors together? You will get a really a neutral color. You're going to brown color. So if I were to mix the red and the green together, I would get a really dark color, and that would be what would serve as my black. Because remember, we're not going to use any black. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but if I'm adding my dark green that I made and my red together, I'm getting a really dark color that from a distance will read as black. So when you're looking at these impressionistic paintings and you see a really dark color, it is probably made, most likely made from two complementary colors mixed together. So I'm just going to go in here and put some of this dark color in here. We're doing more than just covering up our background color, a complementary color. We're doing more than just covering up. We're trying to get a sense of depth with this picture. We're trying to make our objects pop. And I'm going to just mix up another little color here. And you can come back to anything on this picture as you're painting other things, and I do that all the time. Like as I'm painting, I might start going up there and painting the flowers, and then it's like, oh, I want some of this color down here in my vase, or you know, start painting the apple, and it's like, oh, I want some of this color over here. And that's how you can get your colors to dance around. All right, I think that's good for now. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this fabric. Probably should have done that first, but I'm going to go ahead and do this fabric. Let me move my painting up here so you can see. The fabric in the picture is a burgundy color. Right now we have it a yellow-green color. So we're going to need to come in here and do our burgundy colors. So I'm going to get some red and make some red-violet. Remember red-violet, or violet is made from blue and red, so red-violet would be blue and red plus a little bit more red. So I'm just going to make myself a couple of violets, and I'm going to start layering that in. Not going to look too violet in the beginning because we're doing it over a complementary color, so it's going to look a little brown because it's got that green showing through our red-violet, which would be two complementary colors together. But it will be looking more and more red-violet as we go. So I'm going to start my next layer. Now you can see I added just a touch of white to my red-violet, and that's going to help this cover a lot better. All right, and I'm just going to slowly add some more value here. Each color should be a little bit different than the last. Now's the time when you want to really look at your fabric in the picture and start to get the highlights in there, start to see where those highlights are and the wrinkles. So I'm going to start looking at those and seeing where those are. And then I'm going to come back and do some of my darker colors again. So you want to see where the darker colors are, where the lighter colors are. And I like this color. I don't have it anywhere else. And remember what I said, I like the colors to dance around. I'm going to bring some of this really rich violet that I made up here into my vase, so that I can let those colors really dance around. So I'm still adding some of this dark color in here. Just going to keep on adding until you feel that it is covered and looks like your fabric with wrinkles. Don't be afraid to let the color dance up in here. So I've got this little light violet, and I was like, oh, I'll let this dance around up in here in my green leaves a little bit. All right, now I'm going to move on to my apple. So it's got some red on one side, so I'm just going to start with some red over here. And it's some burgundy, so I'm going to get some of that same burgundy in there that I have in my fabric. And start lighting up my pink a little bit so that it will show up. So with a little bit of white, slowly start adding going to play around with this until you like it. So that's sort of my red side. I'm going to go over here to the yellow side of the apple. Now the yellow, you're going to see, doesn't cover very much when I just do the straight yellow, right? It doesn't do too much. So what I need to do is add just a little bit of white with that yellow so that it can stand out a little bit more. Then you can see how it's going to start to cover. I don't want to add too much white too quick, because then I won't be able to layer everything on there the way I want. I'll start coming in with my highlights, which was a little bit more white with my yellow. Start bringing this over to mix with my red. We want this apple to pop off of the background, so it takes a little bit of work to try to make sure our edges are nice and they pop off of the background color that we have. All right, and then I'm going to take my dark color that I have here from another section, put my little stem in there. Maybe add some of this little dark color over here. And I think I'm done in that for now. All right, so let's go back up here and look at our flowers. First thing I want to do is my leaves, because they're sort of behind my flowers. So I'm going to start taking my dark green, layering in the leaves. And I know I'm doing this really fast, guys. I just want you to sort of see how this works. It's nice if you watch these videos before you do stuff, before you do the painting, so that you can see how everything works. Go ahead and layer a couple little layers of green in there. This green that we're putting up here in the leaves mimics the green in our green vase, so that lets those colors sort of dance around the canvas. All right, and I want to go ahead and make my centers. Now my centers are brown. We don't have a brown paint, so we need to mix something. So we want to mix that really dark color again. You can mix the color however best you want. I like taking the green and then the red, and then that gives me a really dark color. And you can see that I covered up my petals a lot. If you cover up your petals as much as I do here, you might need to draw them in with a pencil so that you can see where they are, and that's okay. Like my little flower over here is totally lost. So you can always draw those back in with a pencil. If you look really close at this, this looks like it's a purple color. So if it looks too purple, just add a little bit more yellow with it, because we want to have a couple layers in here anyway. Just add some yellow with that, and that's going to neutralize it some, because if it looks too much purple, it needs some more of its complement in there. If it looks too much red, it needs its complement in there. So remember, we've talked about complements, so you'll just add what you need to. I'm going to lighten my leaves up just a little bit. So some of this going on here, get another little layer in here. And while I've got that color, I'll just come in down here and dance around a little bit. All right, so now we're to the flower petals. So remember, our yellow isn't going to show up very much first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little orange. You can see I mix colors everywhere on my palette because I use a lot of paint everywhere. So I'm going to make a red orange to start, I think. And then I'm just going to lay some of my petals back in here. Feel free to redraw your petals in so that you know where they are. We're going to overlap our petals from this leaf right here. Get some of these. And I'm going to lighten this up. So if I add just a little bit of white to my paint, it's going to have better coverage for my next color. You can see how that adds in there really nice. Remember, I'm not flat painting these. I want to see all the different brush strokes and colors that I'm adding. I don't want this all to blend together. If you look up, some of these Impressionist artists did some beautiful sunflower paintings. Vincent van Gogh is a post-Impressionist artist, but he did a beautiful painting of sunflowers. So you might want to look that up and see what those look like. All right, so each one of these is going to get a little lighter. You work from the darkest to the lightest. So each layer is going to get a little bit lighter until you get the effect that you want. You can see they're starting to look sunflowery. And as you finish, they're just going to get lighter and lighter until you get some little white hints in here to finish them off. Just sort of focusing on these couple of sunflowers over here so you can get the idea here. So, I mean, our painting is basically finished. Some of you might want to stop now, but I would encourage you to just go back in here and do some touch-ups. Of course, I haven't done my third flower here, but I want to sort of finish up this video for you. So now you just need to go in here and just sort of touch up places that you need to touch up, like maybe bring my center here out a little bit more. Just go in here and add some little touch-ups. I add some lighter color in here just to get some more interest, more values. Whenever you add a color someplace, try to add it someplace else. I'm going to add a little bit down here in my apple. I don't think you can see. Let me pull it up here. Got this little color that I used up here for my sunflower. I thought, oh, let's bring that down here to my apple a little bit. Let your colors dance around. And then you want to make sure you have some highlights on everything. So I'm going to take just a little bit of white, and I'm just going to look at my picture and see where some nice little highlights might be. So I add some little highlights on my apple. Definitely want to have some highlights on my vase. Look in your picture, see how the light dances off of it. These little bits of highlights are really going to add some life to your picture. So they are so important. You don't want to forget them. And I'm even going to add just some little highlights to my flowers. Just let that white dance around there a little bit. Might add just a little bit more highlight down here. Remember, we want a full value. We've been learning a lot about value this year. We want to have a full range of values, no matter what media we're using. So if we're painting, we want a full range of values. If we're doing a colored pencil drawing, we want a full range of values. If we are doing a charcoal drawing, we want a full range of values. So you want a full range of values no matter which media you're using. You want that full range of values in there. I'm just going to go in here and just give hints of highlighted color, just to let everything pop. Remember guys, I know I've not quite finished my sunflowers yet, but I'm trying to finish up this video so it's not so long. So we looked at what some finished pieces looked like. I've also posted these on the website. So so here's some of these. This is more of like the dashing motion. All of the dashes are going in the same direction. Here's one a student did that's got more of the dabbing technique. It's got the dabbing, but they did do a lot of the dashing here in the pot. Here is another one. You can see it's got a lot of just movement and motion. It's got the highlights in there. And again, you can see these in more detail on the site. See that little highlights in there. So work on your still life in an impressionistic style. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with, so make sure you take a picture of them and send them to me. All right guys, until next time.